Welcome, and thank you for attending our webinar tonight. My name is Lucas Kolash, and I am a financial advisor at Wealth Distribution Strategies. A little about myself is I'm the financial advisor in our Monticello office. I'm also a strength conditioning coach at New Glarus High School and Monticello High School, so I'm pretty excited for the event tonight. At WDS, our mission is to help clients achieve their financial, family, health, charitable, and social aspirations one conversation at a time. Tonight, we'll be discussing the Good Enough workout with Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith is the founder, owner, and lead trainer at Focal Point Training, and he has brought a safe, simple, and affordable path to help you eat better, sleep better, and finally enjoy exercise. Health and exercise have always been a priority for Tyler. In 2012, Tyler became a certified personal trainer and found a passion for helping others achieve their goals. Tyler is also a certified hypnotherapist and began incorporating elements of hypnosis into his exercise routines early on. Tyler's background in personal training began at a large commercial gym. He found that many of his clients that needed or wanted his services felt intimidated or discouraged by the atmosphere of a crowded gym. Tyler decided to start his own personal training studio in 2015 and has been sharing his unique philosophy to clients ever since. If you would like to ask a question tonight, please either raise your hand or we will open your mic up to speak with Tyler, or you can simply write a question in the chat and we will ask Tyler for you. So with that, we're going to take it over to Tyler. Thank you.
All right, Lucas, thank you for the introduction. And my name's Tyler Smith, and I'm the founder of Focal Point Training. And tonight we're going to be discussing a lot about exercise, habit formation, and the Good Enough workout that I've been working on the last 7 years of Focal Point. And to kind of just get right on into it, we'll talk a little bit about exercise and some very important factors to think about when it comes to pursuing and continuing some sort of workout or exercise habit. And what these are is how to exercise, why to exercise, and then how much exercise do you actually do? And so when it comes to how to work out, there's a lot of folks out there that know how to, and there's a lot of individuals that are trying to learn how. And there's a million different ways on how you can exercise. There's walking and yoga, Pilates, weight training, and there are millions of avenues for you to pursue this knowledge, whether it's online via YouTube, you could hire yourself a personal trainer, you could read a book or join a class. As to how to work out is a very important factor of this long-lasting habit. Next is our why. So the motives. Why are you exercising? Why are you pursuing this fitness habit? And the more reasons why you have, the more powerful this habit becomes as to anything from vanity, well-being, health, longevity, all the positive reasons as to why somebody would want to exercise, as well as some of those harder lessons as to prevention and using exercise to keep you in the game, keep you strong, keep you healthy, and just keep you going. And the final phase of exercise and a workout is kind of formulating, well, how much do I do? So you know how to work out, and you have all these motives and reasons why you should or why you'd want to work out. And the great big question that I'm very interested in is trying to figure out, well, how much is the right amount for you? Helping people kind of find that nice balance between not enough exercise and too much exercise that many people tend to flip-flop and yo-yo between, and hence the Good Enough workout. Now, when it comes to the Good Enough workout and exercise, it's extremely subjective, and I like to think that the Good Enough workout is really about learning how to trust your senses, as well as building a better self-narrative, the words you use to describe yourself in your actions in the gym, to help us make up and create what would be good enough for you, specifically right now. And so today we're going to use a little demonstration as to a sensory test and how we use our senses and trust our senses to make good decisions in the gym, in which I have Steve and Ashley here today to demonstrate our little kettlebell test as to if you two are ready for that. We'll bring that on out. And so do you want them just to come on out? Yeah, come on out. And can you see the kettlebells down there? This is something that at home you too can participate with, just using our senses to kind of formulate and gather a little bit of important data when it comes to the weight. And in this case, what I have is I have two of my kettlebells here at the gym. I have my largest and heaviest, and then I have my lightest. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pick up our lightest kettlebell. And it weighs something, but what I do is I like to put duct tape over the weights to hide its numerical value. So although we don't know how much this weighs, our goal is to kind of figure out, well, what does it feel like? Is this heavy? Is this light? Is this right? Or maybe this is too much for you. And so Steve and Ashley, just using your sense of sight and all your kettlebell experience or lack thereof, all I want you to do is make a guess as to how heavy do you think that is? Take a couple of seconds and an honest guess as to, don't be picking off each other's guesses, but what do you think that weighs, Steve?
5 pounds.
5 pounds. What do you think that feels? Oh, you don't get to hold it yet. Just
I was
looking.
gonna say 5 too.
5 pounds. So we're both thinking that it's 5 pounds. And something at home, if you look at that, what do you think that could be? Now, what I'm going to have you do, Steve, is now I'm going to have you hold it. Some new sensory data, the sense of touch, really important stuff. And as you hold it, you get to kind of get a better understanding of just how heavy or light that might be. And then I'll snatch that back from you. And then Ashley, I'll give you that as to unbiased and immediate sensory feedback. Really nice. And so now that you've held it, do you think it's still 5 pounds, or would you like to get a new guess? Heavier, lighter, or 5 pounds?
I'm going to stick with 5 pounds.
What do you think?
8.
8, so it went up. And the reality is it's actually 9 pounds.
Oh,
So it's 9 pounds. And that's kind of the trivial aspect of a lot of the weights here, is that numerical value is going to be subjective. And we like to focus a lot more on, well, not that it's 9 pounds, but is that heavy? Is that light? Does that feel good in my shoulders, or does that cause a lot of discomfort? And by just using our senses and trusting our senses a little bit more in the gym, we can find weights and movements and exercises that you respond well to without a lot of the guesswork that goes into fitness. So well done. That's the kettlebell test. We can set that on down. Good stuff, you two. And then I'm back in picture here, huh? Thank you, Luke. And so with using our senses to kind of help identify what is right and what is tight, the big portion of the good enough workout goes into the narrative, the words we use to describe ourselves and our actions in the gym. And so the good enough workout itself can be boiled down to 3 simple little phrases that I would encourage you to start practicing here tonight. As to do a good enough workout, all you got to do is show up, make it up, and to quit while you're ahead. Those are the 3 steps that, if completed, will gather some experience, help you reinforce the habit, burn some calories, build a little bit of strength and neuroplasticity, and is a very nice way to begin to create that habit of exercise. And so step number 1, showing up. For a lot of people, that first step is the trickiest. It's full of fear and self-doubt and frustration with knowing that this fitness routine is going to be heavy or hard, or any of the many reasons and thoughts that go through somebody's head when they're thinking about, I should go work out. And so by simply just showing up, we can start to get to that point of getting into the made up aspect of the workout, where unlike a lot of workout programs that are very planned and methodical with knowing what you're going to do before you do it. A very common fitness practice of today is having your workout, knowing what workouts you're going to do, what weights you're going to do them at, and then how many reps you're going to do. And then it's execution time and you go in and do that. We're a lot more flexible. We're a lot more creative here as to being able to make something up in the moment, a little bit of improv as a teamwork effort between myself and you to kind of find out what is the right amount today. And then the final step is quitting while you're ahead, in which you don't get to hear the quit word too often in the gym, but quitting while you're ahead is strategic. It helps us build the intuition to know when to yield and when to fold so that we don't go into the too much exercise that can leave a person broken, battered, demoralized, and is a very tough struggle to be able to sustain for many years. So going back to the first step, showing up, there are three really important factors that I think goes into just the ability to show up. And the first one is money. Fitness has become ludicrously expensive these days with all the training programs, the fashion, the programs, the memberships. It all comes at a cost to you. And the simple truth is if you don't have the money to participate, the ability to show up really, really dwindles. Another big factor is time. A very common one is I don't have the time to work out. You've got your career, your family, your kids, your dog, and all the other things that life can throw at you that makes finding a couple hours throughout the week to get to the gym quite the challenge. Now, I like these two as to the concept of focal point is to be able to build some independence, to be able to get you up and running on your own 2 feet so that you could see yourself doing a good enough workout, not necessarily here at Focal Point, but at the convenience of your home gym or local commercial gym. And simply put, when you do a good enough workout by yourself and for yourself, it immediately becomes the most cost-effective and convenient workout, period. The last big factor of showing up is your mood. Good moods, bad moods, we have them both. And it's a lot easier to show up when you're feeling really good and the stars have aligned for you. You slept well, you're hydrated, you're feeling strong. And then all of a sudden going to the gym seems so much more reasonable and exciting. But then you're going to have a lot of the days where you're feeling a little low, a little achy, a little sore. And that's where the phrase good enough can really help people overcome a lot of those low energy days because you know you're not going to the gym to necessarily kick your butt. Good enough can be a whole lot, or good enough could be just the bare minimum. And that's what we're here to kind of hash out day by day through your circumstances. So by finding the time, finding the money, and using your mood to kind of get you into the gym completes the first step, just to show up. Now, once you've shown up, then we go into the making it up part, the creativity, a little bit of the improv as to, well, now that you're here, what are we going to do? And how much of that are we going to do? And so I have a simple little protocol as to what you would do or what I would suggest you do, whether it's at your home gym, commercial gym, or here at Focal Point. And the first thing is to stretch. Just a little light stretch to kind of loosen up the body. I like to work top down, and later on in the program, we're going to run you through a couple of stretches, mobility exercises that you could do right here at home. And the stretching is really important. It's something that a lot of people neglect. And although the stretch is really gentle and subtle, it's a great way to start bringing the body online. Stretching can really help you figure out what's tight and what's right, which is very important in our decision making as to what do we do and what should we avoid today based on your circumstances. Now, after you've stretched and you've gotten a little bit of blood flow and an idea of just where you're at today energy-wise, we're then going to make a big decision as to what muscle groups do we want to work and what muscle groups do we want to rest. I do a very traditional split known as pull day, press day, and leg day. It's breaking the body down into thirds and focusing more on movements than specific muscles. And for example, a pull day is going to be involving exercises that require the pulling motion, pulling in, pulling up, pulling down, typically working your traps, your delts, your lats, erectors, and biceps. Press day is all exercises that involve pressing, pushing out, pushing down, pushing up, typically going to focus on the pecs, the anterior delts, and the triceps. And of course, leg day is going to be the legs. Abs and core are usually involved in all three. And once we've stretched, we're going to decide which one of those seems appealing and which one of those would you like to just save for another day. And after we've decided that, we're going to go into our most important and the biggest narrative of the day. The pattern that plays out over the course of our 60-minute workout that leads to the good mood, the good muscle breakdown, and the overall success of any good enough workout. And that is to pick an exercise. And we have hundreds of exercises to choose, and we're going to do it 3 times. 3 sets. So if we were to show up and decide, you know what, let's do a pull day today. Let's get into the back. I'm feeling strong there. Legs and knees are a little tight from snow shoveling yesterday. We're just going to do pulls. We're going to make it up. And then we're going to go into picking pull exercises. We're going to save the presses and legs for another day and emphasize just on pull picks, of which then we're going to do that for 3 sets or 3 times, kind of like baseball where you get 3 cracks at it, 3 strikes. And each one of our sets, set 1, set 2, and set number 3 all have their own specific narrative and their own specific purpose. For example, the set 1, I like to call the mystery set. It's the set in which you get to create a standard of good enough for yourself. A couple of really good questions to ask yourself in the first set is, well, what's that going to feel like? How many am I going to do? And by freeing yourself from a numerical expectation of you have to do 12, or maybe you have to do 30 seconds, you're free to create and adjust the amount that's right for you, of which your senses will be brutally honest with you as to feeling the tension, the breakdown, and the pressure that will be incurred over the course of your first set. At the end of set 1 and good enough, we're then going to give you anywhere between 1 and 3 minutes to rest, relax, and acclimate. It's a great time to chit chat a little bit about all stuff fitness related, and it gives the body a chance to recover and get accustomed to what you are doing inside the gym, in which set 2 is then your working set. So it's no longer a mystery. You just did the same weight and the same exercise about 2 minutes ago. Your neural pathways are primed and open. And this is where noticeable sensory change can occur as to that same weight and that same exercise that you just did feels a little lighter. It feels a little smoother. You feel a little stronger and a little more confident. It's something that is immeasurable, but noticeable. And if you can pick up and notice that as a result of your first set, doing the right amount of work, followed by your rest, figuring out the right amount of rest, you can elicit some natural strength gains immediately as to that weight moving smoother, longer, stronger, and you feeling more capable and willing during the exercise. It's a big positive that many people here experience and really gets them excited to come back into the gym time in and time out. Now you've got 2 sets of fatigue and 2 sets of experience, which brings us to the 3rd set, which I call the breakdown set. And in that breakdown set, that's where that same weight and that same exercise that you picked just a couple of minutes ago can really start to catch up with you. Those first 2 sets got you prepped and primed so you really know what you're doing, but they also nickeled and dimed you down into a little bit of fatigue. And that's where that same weight and that same exercise can start to get a little heavier and a little harder and a little faster. And it's great validation that those first 2 sets really did their job. They took a little bit of that energy out of you, they exerted you, and then we repeat this pattern over the course of 60 minutes. Typically, a client will get anywhere between 5 and 8 different picks over the course of an hour, and that accumulative work total, where no one exercise or no one set is overkill, but by all these little chunks of just good enough, good enough, good enough throughout the course of your workout really adds up to hundreds of thousands of pounds of weight moved in a very safe, enjoyable, and leisurely fashion that many of my clients are looking for as to an alternative to the hardcore challenging fitness narratives of today. And we're going to be demonstrating this here soon enough. The last narrative is that quit while you're ahead, to be able to know when to fold or to retreat, to keep you in the fight so that you can show back up again. Quitting while you're ahead gets sometimes a bad rep as to quitters never win and winners never quit. But when it comes to just establishing a habit and seeing improvement and gathering some experience, quitting while you're ahead is a very integral part of the program to keep you safe, to keep you strong, and to keep you coming back. And that's where at the end of the day, you yourself get the final say as to what's good enough. I like to just simply guide and facilitate. And through the course of a program here, the goal is to get your skill set polished up, to build a little bit of coordination, balance, and strength, and to develop a new narrative towards your exercise where you could see yourself showing up to your local gym or your home gym to perform a good enough workout so that you can do good enough most days for many years. I think right now would be an ideal time to do our first demonstration, of which Ashley here today is going to demonstrate a pick an exercise and do it 3 times. And as we know, Ashley, we're just going to be trying to shoot for good enough, in which I'll pull the bench out. And then Luke, if you want to slide that back a bit. We're good to go. And so Ashley, what I'll do is I'll demonstrate first, and then we'll have you perform our pick and exercise. And so Ashley's going to be doing a pause squat, in which can be done with just body weight, but today we're going to incorporate a dumbbell here, as to Ashley is going to straddle over top of the bench. That dumbbell is going to be brought up to the chest, so those elbows are kind of like tucked nice and tight. So the upper body's nice and engaged. And then Ashley is going to simply descend down and take a seat on the bench, pausing, kind of killing your momentum. From this position with a nice strong back, you're just going to drive yourself back up. Take a seat, kill the momentum, drive yourself back up, as to the repetitious nature of a pause squat. And so you ready?
Yeah.
And so we're going to put the narrative into play as to we picked an exercise. It's a leg exercise. And we're going to do it 3 times. And so this first initial set is the mystery set. What's that going to feel like? You're going to do a lot. You're going to do a little. Is that going to be uncomfortable in the hips? And this is where we're here to create and discover, rather than Ashley, I want you to do 15 heck or high water. So let's give it a shot. And before we start, let's have you stand up and let's just have you scooch back just a little bit so that those feet are clear of there. Stellar. And then let's just do a rep or 2, just dipping the toe. So nothing to prove and everything to learn. And you're just gathering a little bit of information. Let's have you drive it on up. Really nice. And then we're just going to repeat that. And so as Ashley continues to do this, she's focusing on 3 things here. Her range of motion, which she has really nice range of motion. Then the tempo, as to trying to find a nice little rhythm. And slowly but surely, this light, relatively gentle weight will start to get a little heavier and harder. And it's something that will be felt and above all seen, as to I like to really try to read body language. We're going to do about 2 more there for you, Ashley. Yeah, halfway there, last one. You can stand up and I'll hand it. Just like that, and quit while you're ahead. Could you have done more? I think so. But that's not really the point of the first set. The first set is all about dipping the toe and getting a vibe. Double checking your guess as to, well, is this in fact appropriate for the time being? And then in hindsight, we can look back at that and say, you know what? That was reasonable. It was good enough. Of which Ashley now gets anywhere between 1, 2, and 3 minutes to relax, reset, and allow a little bit of that pump, a little bit of that exertion that you felt to dissipate. And it will, and it's a great sign over the course of those 2 to 3 minutes where the heart rate comes back down, that pressure, that burn, that sensation you felt in the legs will slowly but surely disappear. And if it doesn't, it tells us that, well, maybe you did a little too much, or maybe it's just the wrong pick for you right now. And we're never committed to any of our picks. So if you find that, you know what, in hindsight, I didn't like that, that wasn't good enough, we can quit while we're ahead and go right down the line and find some other type of exercise, some other weight or some other movement that is a little bit better suited for you. And so in about 15 seconds or so, we're going to have Ashley do the same weight and the same exercise, but now it's no longer a mystery. That first set opened up some neural pathways. The confidence is hopefully a little higher. You got a little bit of experience, and we'll see if there's any noticeable changes in your rhythm, your form, and your work ethic when we do set 2, the working set. All right, up and over. You got the good grip, bringing it on up, and then just take it away and just replicating what you already did. Driving through, really nice, and then take it right back down and come right back on up. Not too shabby. And then we just play out a little bit of patience as to, you just continue like so, as to letting the high volume slowly but surely get to you, with the idea that we are simply going to try to last a little longer and do just a little bit more than the first set, as to good enough is meant to get better. And we're getting close, and it's something that's very similar. All of a sudden that weight will start to get a little heavier. You'll feel sensation and tension that you just felt just a moment ago. And we're just going to elaborate a little longer with maybe, what would you say? 3 is pretty reasonable? Yeah, I think 3 is pretty good. There's 1 towards it, 2 to go. 2 down, last 1. And with energy to spare, good enough. Cool. Piece of cake, 2 down and 1 to go. Again, you're going to get a little bit of rest, a little bit of time off. And before you know it, you'll be on to your 3rd and final set, better known as the breakdown set, where all of a sudden that might start to creep up and catch up with you. And we're able to complete a pattern like this in anywhere roughly between 4 and 6 minutes. And so that's just 4 to 6 minutes of hyper-focused on one task. Not a huge fan of the circuit training, as to you find yourself going from one station to one station, getting different stimuli, and it gets a lot more complex, a lot more stimulation, and it often leads to a lot of that too much exercise, that exhaustion, as opposed to the exertion that we're looking for. So Ashley, really nice job so far. And then let's complete the pattern. A short little rest period, not too much, not too little. You're very Goldilocks. Good upright posture, and take it away. Been there, done that, same weight, same exercise. But those first 2 sets could very well lead to that getting a little heavier, a little tougher, a little more noticeable and quicker. As to a simple pattern that plays out throughout the course of the workout. Pretty decent. Now, what I like to gather and what I like to assume is watching Ashley, she has a little better tempo. They're a little smoother. They're a little stricter. The first set was good, but this 3rd set is something that's a little more automatic. It's going to get there in just a few. What do you think? 2 to 3?
Sure.
Yeah, let's go for 2 to 3. 1 down. Let's go for that full 3. 2 to go. Last rep. And just like that, you've picked an exercise and did it 3 times. And if we were to complete that and continue leg exercises over the course of the next 50 to 55 minutes, that's where that accumulative work total would really start to dig deep into the muscle fibers, breaking them up, eliciting the hypertrophy and the DOMs that so many people are looking for from any type of exercise routine. So Ashley, thank you so much. Well done. Okay. In which I think we can bring it back on over here, Luke, as to focusing a little bit on some of our charts. It's with you. Quite the operation we got going on. I think that's all right. Good. Cool. Now, through Ashley's demonstration of picking an exercise, doing it 3 times, something that we didn't do is we didn't necessarily count or track what Ashley did as far as the numbers go. So how many reps did Ashley do? I don't really know. The concept is that she did enough to feel it. And that's something that a lot of people are able to gauge. And that's where I have this little exertion meter to help give us a better understanding of what is good enough. And so when it comes to exertion, we've got a lot of folks who are down on this side of the spectrum where they're not exercising. The exertion is low and infrequent. And then we have a lot of individuals who are currently exercising that fall into that 100% give it your best approach that is all too common. And I'm a big believer that somewhere between nothing and everything resides something that is very enjoyable, productive, and something that most folks can pursue and continue with. And so our first set, the mystery set, is all about finding the right amount of work to stimulate the body in a positive manner. And so set one is treating your muscles a lot like a pressure gauge. And with every rep Ashley did throughout that set is she built up exertion. Now, those first 3 to 5 were kind of easy. That's a good sign that you're composed and safe. But slowly but surely, that light weight didn't stay light for long, and then it got heavier and harder and more exerted, and then you quit while you're ahead. You could think of it like you could give yourself a C+ or a B- as to that satisfactory in passing, and you didn't even study. We then get to focus more on the sensation, not necessarily a numerical value, but how'd that feel? Was that hard? Was that easy? Everything in between. And then over the course of 1 to 2 to 3 minutes, Ashley's exertion will come back to center. She's reset, she's refreshed, and she's ready to do the same thing again. But now we know what we're looking for. We've established, experienced, and felt an amount of effort that was stimulating and what we would consider productive. So set 2 comes along. Again, rep after rep, those first few are kind of light and easy. And with every rep and every second, Ashley is exerting force, time, and energy, of which then we're simply trying to elaborate and go just a little more than that first initial set. Good enough was good enough set 1, and then set 2 was a little bit better, a little stronger, a little longer, and a little more focused. And that's a big positive. Not only is that going to help you feel strong and build the belief that this is working and you're progressing, but it also leads to better calorie burn and muscle breakdown as to helping folks achieve those results. 1, 2, 3 minutes goes by, of which then our third and final set comes in. And this is my favorite set. The third set is where I elicit one of the better pumps, some of the better breakdown, and one of the most accomplished sets of the bunch, of which you might not do as many or last as long, thanks to the first 2 sets. But when it comes to perceived exertion, you're able to go just a little bit more. And it creates a nice little ballpark that we're constantly trying to formulate and recreate as to what is enough and what is too much, and drawing those lines in the sand to create a nice little window of, well, that was enough. That was good enough to leave me feeling strong, good enough to get me to come back. And it sets me up for more for the rest of the workout and the rest of the week. Now, we left a lot of room for improvement as to Ashley could have gone bigger, she could have gone heavier, and she could have done more. But that also would have expected more exertion out of her, in which then we start to get into a little bit of risk and fear that I believe is unnecessary for the vast majority of folks pursuing exercise, as to the good enough workout is plenty fine to lose weight and build strength, but it might not be good enough if you're looking to win the blue ribbon, to play for the Yankees, or to become an online fitness influencer, of which then that best effort, that pushing limits and challenging yourself to the extremes, becomes a little more reasonable and feasible. So we're very anti-risk, and we're really trying to eliminate a lot of the insecurities and fear that come with that all too common, too much, extra hard, very complicated, and fast workout that are very prominent in the industry today. Pretty cool. I think now would be a nice time to demonstrate the pattern just one more time with Steve here. And then we'll talk a little bit more in depth as to our strategy for what makes a good pick. All right, Steve. Come on over. I'm going to demonstrate. We're going to do exactly what we did with Ashley. So now we have Steve here. Steve's good enough is one of a kind and unique, just like Ashley's. And so we're here to kind of hash out, well, what would be something appropriate for you? And what we're going to do and demonstrate here is a push press, of which I'll demonstrate first, and then we'll have you hop in there and give it a shot. And so this is a push press exercise. It involves 2 dumbbells and an inclined bench, of which we're just going to have you lean back. You're going to take your 2 dumbbells and you're going to get them up over the chest, and then you're going to bring them together. So two independent weights become one solid weight right over the chest. You're then going to let those elbows tuck tight to the side. Chest is going to expand a little bit. And then from there, you're just going to press it right back up over the chest, down to the chest, over the chest. That's the pick. That's the guess. And we're going to put our narrative into play as to set one, the mystery set. It's a new weight. It's a new exercise. Maybe Steve has done this in the past, but Steve hasn't done it today, of which let's have you just do a couple of reps. As to nothing to prove and everything to learn. Not too shabby. And so what Steve's doing here right now is he's hashing it out. He's building up some neural pathways. And we're not looking for perfection in the first set. We're just looking to gauge and get a good vibe. And it's really nice as to all of a sudden it's kind of clicked in. Those first few reps had a little wobble and now you've dialed it in. And now it's just a matter of when and how much. Of which we're going to start seeing signs. It's a lot like reading a poker player as to there will be certain tells that show that Steve is starting to feel the burn, the breakdown, the exertion. I'd say 2 more would be ideal. Halfway, strung to the chest, and then you can just sit on up, Steve, as to just like that. I'll snatch those. You picked an exercise, you did it 3 times. And this is where, again, Steve will have just a little bit of time to rest, relax. And how'd that feel?
Fine.
Yeah, totally. Was by no means too tough, but there was definitely a level of time and exertion that you built up over that. And our hope is in about 30 to 60 seconds as to that was pretty light. Keep in mind, first time getting to see us, so we're not here to push you too much. We'll have you do that one more time and see if there are any of those nice improvements as to that weight feeling lighter, feeling smoother, lasting a little bit longer, and building up that exertion. All in good time though, about 15 seconds or so. Feel good, feel ready?
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Same weight, same exercise, set one, educational set, the dip the toe set, the mystery set. And real smooth. And so some of these nice little natural changes that just stick out ever so slightly is the tempo is a little bit quicker. The reps are a little shorter, but they're a little more precise. And these are good signs that over the course of set one in that little rest period, that Steve's nervous system opened up some of those pathways to take the same task and the same aspect and just make it a little bit easier. And now you can work it a little bit longer. Every rep is light and steady till it isn't. And that'll start to shine through. You'll be the first to know. You'll feel it, I'll see it, and I'd say maybe about 3. And all of a sudden, that 20 pounds, 10-pound dumbbells, 20 pounds will accumulate into hundreds of pounds of weight. What do you think, Steve? 2, 3? Yeah, with ease. And take it on down to the chest, sit up, rest, relax, 2 in the bag. Nice job, man.
Oh, thanks.
We'll complete that one more time, and then I think we've got the pick and exercise demonstrations wrapped up for the evening.
Okay.
And so everybody has a good enough, and it's really my goal to be able to facilitate and over the course of my program to get you up to speed with what you would deem good enough and could see yourself doing consistently. A little bit of time, just factoring in, well, what is the right amount of rest? And again, using our senses to kind of formulate that. Every second that goes by, that little bit of pressure dissipates. And then it kind of comes to this almost like epiphany where you're reset, you're refreshed, and you're focused and ready to do that just one more time. And then just like that, another pick and exercise, do it 3 times. Good call on the rest period. Keeping the weight constant. And the weight, the free weight is really just a tool as to 10 pounds is going to be 10 pounds every day to every single person, but how that's interpreted is going to be constantly changing based on your daily circumstances. There you go. First set, good enough. Second set was a little bit better. And all of a sudden, now we're starting to get in and really get those muscle tissues to break down in a real productive manner. That exertion is mountain. That's the breakdown set. How about 2? 1, 2. Quitting while you're ahead, energy to spare. And thank you so much. All right. A natural. slide that back out. We'll talk just a little bit more as to our mood elevation and one of the many premises of good enough. Cool. And so the final chart of the day is really focusing on one of the many benefits that most people can experience after just 1 hour of exercise. And what that is mood elevation. It's a little cliche as to the old, well, I feel better at the end of the workout. But why is that so elusive? And how can we replicate a positive experience every time you show up to the gym? And so you've got your mood, high moods and low moods. And then we have our 20, 40, and typically 60 minutes of exercise, of which I like to go through a little mood swing that looks a little like this. We build it up, we taper out, and then we kind of coast on out of the workout, a nice little bell curve. We break the workout into 20-minute portions as to the first 20, the middle 20, and the final 20 minutes of your good enough workout, of which the first 20 minutes is all about choosing weights that are relatively light, easy, enjoyable, and that you're good at, as to getting a nice, gradual, slow buildup, as opposed to what a lot of folks do with showing up to the gym, and it's an immediate, intense program. Within those first 5, 10, 15 minutes, you're huffing, puffing, looking at the clock, looking at the door, or worse, maybe even a little beat up. And so we can really avoid that common experience by simply using the first 20 minutes to generate a little bit of experience, build up a little bit of circulation, and then go from there. As to after 20 minutes of good enough exercise, you'll have such a better understanding of how you're feeling, what is right, what is not so right, and hopefully feeling a little more energized now that you've shown up and gotten started. It's this 20 to 40 minute range where typically based on how the first 20 minutes went, that we can make more educated picks and make better choices for you in the gym. For example, if the first 20 minutes left you feeling really strong and confident, we might be able to make picks that are a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, and a little more challenging as opposed to at the very beginning. If that first 20 minutes left you feeling achy and tight and you're just like, I'm just glad I'm here, then there's no need for us to have to ratchet up and increase the intensity, and we can downshift and adjust as to when it comes to our ability to make it up, there really are no rules. After 40 minutes of exercise, this is where it's very natural that all that time starts to break you down. You're starting to feel the fatigue, you're losing your focus, you've got other places to go for the rest of the day. And it's around that 40-minute marker where I like to slow things down and go into more accessory work, core work, lighter and gentler exercise that might not feel so light and gentle because you're now fatigued. So it really boils down to a lot of timing as to if you were to do a push press here at say 10 pounds or a push press here, same weight, same exercise at 10 pounds, there is a very good chance that that same weight and same exercise could feel massively different, all depending on the time that you chose to pick that exercise. One of the many skills that we try to instill and teach our clients is how to make the right pick at the right time. And there's a lot of flexibility into that. Now, at the end of the workout, and you've done your 5, 6, or 7 picks and you're feeling exerted and feeling good, you've reinforced the habit, you've gathered some experience, and you broke down some muscle tissue. We do a little bit of reflection, a little bit of post-workout narrative as to focusing on where was your mood, where was your attitude, where was your mind at when you started, and where is it at the end of the workout? And if you can notice a difference in feeling lighter, looser, less stress, less anxiety, more energy, more confidence, then we know that that workout was plenty enough that will lead into the rest of the day. A wonderful narrative as the end of the workout goes is a good enough workout will lead to a better night's sleep. As a result of my good enough workout and feeling good, I'm going to spend more time drinking water. As a result of my good enough workout, I'm going to drive by that McDonald's and forego the drive-through. And that's what really leads into the other three big habits we like to emphasize is helping people sleep better, eat better, and drink more water. And I think that really gets to start as to the exercise habit, as to this is a very synergistic habit. The more you exercise, the better you feel. The better you feel, the more likely you are to do other things that make you feel good. Less stress leads to better decision making. And so on days that you work out, you might be able to notice this pattern that on the days I work out, I also sleep better. I feel better. I eat better. I drink more water. And it goes both ways, where when you're sleeping better, eating better, and drinking more water, your workouts improve. And so these are the 4 habits that we like to really bounce around as to just improving as to good enough water intake, a good enough diet, and a good enough sleep schedule, which is simply an improvement upon what your current standards are today, right now. Pretty all right. Now, this pattern is something that I like to repeat over the course of typically about a 10-hour package. I offer a complimentary session at the very beginning. It's typically a 60 to 80-minute session of which we get to talk a little bit about your circumstances and a little more in depth with the lesson plan, and then which we do a full good enough workout. It's a really good experience to be able to feel and see if this is a right fit for you. There's no contracts or memberships. And at the end of that workout, the goal of the 10-session program is to give you enough experience so that you can see yourself beginning to practice some of these good enough workouts at your very own home or at your local gym, leading to that independence that I believe is very necessary in creating a habit that spans years. I think now would be a pretty good time to demonstrate a couple of at-home exercises that folks could do in the upcoming week or even right here now, as to just a handful of simple body weight stuff and kind of go from there, why don't we just pull that back and I'll slide that mat right here out into the open. So now it's my time to shine on the camera. All right, that's a pretty good spot. So our big old yoga mat, in which I'll pull out a chair here. And it's to a good little tool for you to be able to use just a little bit of these exercises throughout the week. And the first one we're going to do is known as a swimmer squat. Now, a swimmer squat is a relatively gentle, great exercise to kind of open up the glutes and the knees, protect the back. As the concept is you're going to take a seat on your bench or a seat on the chair, and you're going to extend those arms out like so. And these arms act as a little bit of leverage and momentum as you use the arms to kind of swim yourself back up. So you're getting a little bit of motion and a little bit of assistance with your upper body weight. So that takes a lot of pressure out of the knees and out of the hips as to a swimmer squat. Now, that's how you work out. That's the form. I'll give you a little bit of a side profile here as to good open stance. Toes can be forward or slightly open. As you descend, those hands go out. And then as you drive through the floor, you let those hands kind of swim through the air as to a swimmer squat. The great big question is, well, what is enough of those for you? And if you were to do just a handful, you're going to get all sorts of sensations and feedback as to tightness in the knees or rigidness in the lower back, or maybe it feels really smooth and strong. And the goal is over the course of just this exercise, that if you were to pick it and pursue it 3 different times, that you'd try to follow our protocol of that first set is all about establishing a standard. Set 2, you can build it up a little bit more. For some people, it's just a little. For others, a lot. It makes no difference. It's all about what is good enough for you. So the swimmer squat, excellent little exercise that a lot of folks can benefit from right in the comfort of your own home. Next, we're going to do a glute bridge. Glute bridge is typically done on the floor. No weight necessary or anything like that, of which all we're going to have you do is we're going to have you take a seat. You're going to lay back down on the ground. Feet are about shoulder width, hip width, toes are forward, head and shoulders are pinned, hands can go anywhere. I kind of like to clasp them and just stick them on my stomach as I drive my feet down into the floor and I extend the hips up, creating a nice level bridge from knees to hips to shoulders. It's a great exercise to squeeze the glutes, stretch out the abdominal wall, and build up a little bit of lower back strength. And then I descend. I extend up, little pause, and down as to some hip thrusts towards the sky. Not only is this a great exercise to stimulate and develop some glute strength, it's one of the best exercises to create good alignment in the hips. A relatively light and gentle exercise. And of course, the mystery comes back to, well, how many do you do? And that's something that throughout the reps and throughout the set, you slowly but surely feel that burn and that breakdown as to your fighting gravity, and that'll eventually get the better of you. So a glute bridge is just another nice little exercise that you can do right at home. We'll pull this guy back on out, and we'll use this one as a demonstration. Now, I believe you mentioned that there was a little bit of dumbbell work. And so we're going to do a seated overhead press, of which by sitting down, you kind of cut the legs out, and it requires a little bit more core activation. As to, you're going to simply grip the weight, tuck those elbows, and have it kind of right in front of the chin. And then you're just going to simply press that up and over, and then right back down. As to a side profile, we're looking for that weight to go straight up and right back down. It's very natural to want that weight to go back behind the head or out in front, but the goal is to have them go nice and up, elbows tucked tight, and drive that back on up. Again, when it comes to how to exercise, a lot of trainers out there will be doing this exercise. Our focus is how much do you do? And through set one, with every rep you do, that light weight will slowly become heavy. And that is a good sign that you've exerted yourself to a point of fatigue that is beneficial and will lead to you being able to come back and continue this nice little habit. So 3 really simple exercises that you could do at home. Pick them, do them 3 times, flip them around in an order. And if it's something that you were more interested in pursuing, how to exercise, reinforcing the why to exercise, and really being able to figure out how much that complimentary session and that 10-session program is really geared there so that you have a nice library of exercises you can do at the comfort of your own home or at your local gym. I think now would be an all right time if we had anyone that had any questions or concerns or anything like that. Luke.
Get the ball rolling. Where are you located?
Yeah, good question. So I'm here in Madison, Wisconsin, on the corner of Mound and Randall Street. We're about a half mile away from Camp Randall, and we are at the old Mound Street Yoga Studio. And so this is my 3rd location. I started off just off of Monroe Street for a few years. I had a couple of years down at Park Street, and I've been at this location for the last 2. Oh, and so yeah, the WDS promotion. And so typically with the program, the first session is complimentary. Afterwards, if it's something that people are interested in pursue, I like to start all people with just that small package of 10 sessions. Typically that 10-session package is $650, but for WDS clients and employees, we're knocking that down $150 down to a $500 package, of which those 10 sessions are used anywhere between 1 and 3 times a week, of which at the end of those 10, we should have new perspectives, some good insight as to how do we keep going once we've gotten started.
how do we contact you?
Yeah, so to contact, one of the best ways to get a hold of me is through the website www.focalpointtraining.net. I have a little form that you can fill out that'll send me an email, or you can give me a call at 608-574-5889, and we can find a time that works well for you.
Another question that came in on the chat is, do you offer any diet programs?
Yeah, and so when it comes to the diet and nutrition as to what we should eat and what we should eat less, that's something I like to address in the middle of the program, as to really figuring out, not so much telling you what you should eat, but focusing on some things that we could have a little bit less of, incorporating a little bit more of the positive. My nutritional and diet program is very similar to the Good Enough workout, as to it's something where we're not necessarily going to give you a strict diet of this is what you eat and when you eat it and X amount of calories, but trying to figure out what are you currently eating and get to learn a little bit about what your typical eating habits are, of what you're eating, when you're eating, and how much you're eating. And then based on that, we can start to make some nice little adjustments of trying to include a couple of more positive things and slowly but surely minimizing some of those negative eating behaviors to see and feel those improvements.
Another question from the chat. You're focusing on weight training. Do you have or how do you approach aerobic exercise?
Yes, that's a great question. And so when it comes to aerobic versus anaerobic, the weight training is anaerobic, and jumping on the treadmill and the rower machine gets that heart rate up as to that aerobic capacity. My facilities don't really have the capacity, as far as we don't have any treadmills or anything. We're mostly focused on the anaerobic and getting people involved with the weight and the strength training. And when it comes to a very common goal of many people, losing weight and burning calories, there is a principle known as the afterburn effect. Now, the afterburn effect is the concept that anaerobic versus aerobic exercise, that you can in fact burn more calories through your weightlifting program than you could through an aerobic program. And the example of this is if you were to go to the gym and get on the treadmill and run for 30 minutes and get that heart rate really high, get a good sweat, you are going to burn more calories during that 30 minutes. But once you step off the treadmill and your heart rate comes back down to resting, that caloric burn is then pretty much over. And so although you burn more in that period of time, once you're finished with that cardio session, the calorie burn is pretty much over. As opposed to anaerobic in the weight training, getting the hypertrophy and the DOMS. DOMS is delayed onset muscle soreness. It's those tender, achy muscles you have the day or two after a workout. And what it takes is the body a tremendous amount of energy and calorie expenditure to repair and rebuild the broken muscle tissue. And so although you might not burn as many calories during the workout, once the workout is done, that workout is going to continuously burn calories up until those muscle fibers are repaired, which typically takes anywhere between 24 and 48 hours. And the studies have shown that that accumulative slow burn, better known as the afterburn effect, adds up to a higher calorie expenditure over the course of those 2 days, as opposed to the aerobic.
Two more questions. One being, if I have injuries, can I still work out?
Yes, absolutely. And so that is a huge factor of what helped me create Good Enough, as the vast majority of my clientele are over the age of 40. They've been around the block, they've got some wear and tear, and that injuries are one of the biggest stinkers in the fitness industry. Anybody who works out a lot often does that too much exercise. And so the injuries are there for us to acknowledge and be able to not work through, but work with, to find exercises that you can do that result in little to no pain, feeling strong, and then building up around that problem area so that eventually a lot of that pain, a lot of those injuries are then remedied, getting you feeling good, feeling strong, and certainly one of the biggest factors as to why I have to make it up with folks, as to I never really know who's going to come in the door.
One more question. said that you do hypnotherapy. What
Yeah.
does that entail? What is the focus?
Yeah, so I got into hypnotherapy. I've been a certified hypnotherapist for 8 years, and I got into it due to my mother. My mother's been a certified hypnotherapist for 25 years, clinical hypnosis, helping people with smoking cessation. She's done stage hypnosis, phobias, and all sorts of stuff. It was something that I was very interested in as to kind of better understanding the subconscious mind as to the motivations, the fears, and the anxieties revolving around fitness. Now, the hypnotherapy is completely optional. It's something that I usually bring up and recommend towards the end of the 10-session program. I like to think of it as guided visualization, a little bit of narrative and imagination as to using hypnotherapy to instill confidence and the view that you could really see yourself sleeping better, eating better, and using exercise to overall benefit your day and into the future. So it's a really fun concept. To the best of my knowledge, I'm the first individual that has tried to meld the exercise with the hypnotherapy to create kind of a nice meld of both mind and body, using our imagination, our narrative, and our subconscious to make really good decisions with our body in the gym. And again, it's something that's optional. My strategy behind the hypnotherapy is I like to focus strictly and primarily on the weight training and the healthy habits to begin with. And by building a little bit of trust and a little bit of rapport as to you're working with an unfamiliar person in an unfamiliar environment, doing something that's might be unfamiliar, that when the hypnotherapy is introduced, that if you're comfortable and willing, that I've had lots of success through it as to getting people up and running and then on their own 2 feet. Stellar, yeah, absolutely. So I'd say that that was a good enough little presentation. That was a lot of fun for me as to my first attempt of expressing and explaining good enough via Zoom and online as opposed to in person. And I really appreciate everybody tuning in and giving me your time tonight to listen about what I've been up to. And I truly hope to hear from you soon and that you all have a really nice evening.
Hey, thank you, Tyler. We appreciate you. Our next client event is going to be on January 24th at 6 p.m. and we will cover the 2023 market outlook. If you would like to attend the event, please sign up on our website. If you have any friends or family that think that they might be interested in the topic too, you are more than welcome to invite them. We organize these events to bring value to our clients and the community, and your referrals amplify our events and impact everyone beyond WDS. On that note, if you would like to give feedback and help guide WDS client experience, we send out 1 to 2 quick online surveys every month to gather some feedback from you that we take very seriously. Please consider joining our Star Council. If you are interested, please contact your own financial advisor to sign up. Again, thank you, Tyler, and for everyone for joining tonight. If you have any questions, please just reach out to your advisor and we will be following up with Tyler's contact information via email. So thank you everyone for coming. We appreciate you. Take care.